Okay, well, I'm reasonably happy now with the drawing that we've mapped in. Really just about placement, and we'll shape everything up as we start to apply colour to the painting. I'm going to start off with working on this distant mountain here, establishing the value, because then our sky will go lighter and then we'll start getting darker as we come forward. So I think this is the key here. If I start with the sky, I might go too dark with the sky initially, then this becomes too dark and it pushes everything back. And I think from a contrast point of view and aerial perspective, it's important that we get this the right value, and I'll start putting some snow caps and things on there. Get that the right value first, and then we'll come into the sky. So I'll start with an underpainting, then I'll go to the sky, then I'll come back and put on the snow caps, and then we'll start coming forward from there. Should be very exciting. Well, I'm excited at least. Hopefully you are too about it. So what I'm taking is ultramarine blue, and I'm just getting a big chunk of titanium white. And I'm just putting in just a touch of the alizarin crimson. And yeah, that's sort of the colour that I think I want. So let's just start mapping that in here. And part of it is, sort of visualising how you think that's going to look in contrast to the completed picture, which is not an easy skill to develop, but if you can, all the better. Okay. Try not to get too rounded edges, because if these are going to be alpine mountains, they're going to be a little bit rough and jaggedy on the top there. Okay, I'm going to leave the little bit of rounding through here for the moment, because I'm going to add a bit more white in there to lighten it off in the valley of the mountain. Okay, there's our main peak. Okay, that looks pretty good. Okay, now because I've got the the underpainting there in, I've just got to work around. Don't want to sort of disturb too much the drawing that I put in there, but at the same time I'm not going to be forced to adjust what I'm doing because of it either. I can always put it back in, of course. Now, notice how I've gone lighter into the valley here. Mountains will always be darker when they're in the distance at the top, and lighter in the valleys. It's just, again, it's another little thing to know about creating perspective and creating a sense of distance. Okay, if it was all just one flat colour, then you wouldn't get a sense that it drops away into a valley. It's little illusions for the eye. Okay, I'm going to stand back and have a look. And I think that's, looking at it against the white, it seems to me to be just a little bit too dark. But I think when we get some of these mountains in here, I'm going to come a bit more forward with those. It's going to push that back a bit, plus with the snow caps on there. So what I'll do now, I'll take more ultramarine blue, but a lot more titanium white this. So I'm going for quite a light value. And let's just run some of that in. Well, it's not mixed very well, so I need to go lighter than that. So it's not light enough in contrast to the mountains. So I need to get quite a bit more titanium white and pop that on and just run that over there like so. And then we'll scrub that up. There's quite a bit of sky to cover. So let's get in good helping of the sky paint. And then we can reassess. Okay, this is an area here that we could probably use the white. There we go. Now, because I'm recording here with the hot lights and so on, the acrylics do dry out. You need to work fast to get this base in. So because I'm going to go and shape around these mountains here in a moment, I'm going to just be quiet, so do forgive me if I'm not talking constantly. In fact, I might just leave the mountains there for the moment, because it is quite warm in here, and if I leave it to last, it'll give the mountains just a chance to dry off and make my life a little bit easier. I don't have to be as careful. Just work it all in. Probably even go a bigger brush on this, but I didn't bring a bigger brush down into the recording studio with me. Get down into these trees here. Now, I'm not going to do any clouds on this sky. I think we'll just leave it fairly plain sort of sky there. Okay. Come in and cut in here now. Hopefully it's all a bit drier along the mountain range. Get a bit lighter, which means more white. Working some of that white a bit further up into the sky, so it's not, or so that it's blended in, I guess. Okay. Now. Not too concerned if I get a few little bits of white onto the top of the mountain there, because I'm going to put snow caps on there anyway, and it'll mostly be in white, the snow caps. I'll put some shadow snow caps in, but leave some of it unblended in as well. Leave some brush marks in there. If you like that sort of loose impressionistic look, I personally do. So if you come and have a close look at this painting, you'll notice there's quite a lot of brush marks in there. Okay. Okay. Okay, so I've got the sky in, and now what I think we need to do is come into these mountains here, get some colour into those, and into the fields here. We'll go a little bit yellow in the back, and we'll get greener as we come into the front here of the field, and probably get the water in. So we'll block in all the main colours, and then we'll reassess before we start doing our trees. And this mountain's going to be our closest to us. This one's a little bit further away. So to create that sense of distance within our mountains, what tends to happen with looking into the distance, and we talk about this on our Get Started painting course, is that the further you go, the first colour to drop out of the spectrum of colour is yellow. And then after that, red drops out, which leaves you with the blue, which is why our very distant mountains are always blue. Okay, if you look in the distance, when you're out on a highway in the country, you'll see blue mountains. Then as they come closer to you, the red reappears. So this will get more red in here. And then as we get closer to us again, it gets more yellow, comes into the spectrum. So that's how you create that aerial perspective. So pretty much what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the same ultramarine blue and titanium white mixture. So really we've only used the two colours with a touch of alizarin crimson so far. And I'm just going to bring in a little bit of alizarin crimson and just a little bit more of the blue, so it's a bit stronger in value. Okay, so now we're going to come up here and compare. Notice that's a bit stronger, but I think it needs a bit more red in it. Okay, yeah, that's getting it there. So it probably should have been lighter along that edge for the background mountain, so I'll fix that up. But you can see now that this is pushing the first mountain range that we did. I won't call it a mountain because it's more of a range. It's pushing that one further back into the distance now. So there's just little tricks. Up the top here, the value is almost identical. So we're going to lose the edge a bit, which is okay, because I'll cover that up with a tree there. Okay. Don't lose the edge too much, and then as it comes up towards the sky here, obviously the value is a lot stronger. So you can see it's almost exactly the same as what I'm putting on there and there, but you can see the difference with the contrast that it makes. Okay, that line is irrelevant, so I'll ignore that. And come down over some of these little distant trees, into this tree here a bit. Okay. And then we'll go over it, so if we leave any gaps, then we've got at least that colour established for us. Okay. Again into there. Not trying to cover every space here, but just getting a bit in amongst those background trees so that the background does show through a bit there. What's behind the trees shows through a bit is what I mean. Then we've got our mid-distance tree, we'll just work into the top of that. And that one comes up to about there. Okay. Now we could, if we wanted to, just introduce just a little bit of yellow ochre, and I'm using some of the blue on that yellow ochre, and we could just start to, just introduce a little bit of that along the top there as it gets closer to us. Okay, but I'm really keeping that fairly light and underplayed. But it is a reasonably close mountain to us, so it is going to have some visible vegetation on it, whereas this long distance one here won't have. So just a few little marks like that. It's going to be very distant, so we're not going to put much more than that in. Now going back into our ultramarine blue, more alizarin crimson, and the yellow ochre this time. Okay. So I've got almost a green mix now. See that? It's actually quite dark, because if you mix your three primary colours together, of course, you end up with a black. So I've just put a bit more yellow ochre into it to get it a bit lighter. Okay. And that really pushes those background mountains further back. Okay, so let's just get those in. Now it's important that you get to a green colour when you're doing a painting like this, because obviously we're coming into the fields here, so we have to establish a merging colour, I guess. Well, that's actually the river there, so don't get too carried away there, Rod. Okay, and I'm concentrating here, not talking too much, because I really want to do good paintings for you guys to set an example of what you guys can achieve as well in not too distant future. I'd really love it if our DVD of the Month club members really start to excel, become terrific painters, and really advance in your careers as artists. Nothing would please me more. Very exciting to see you guys all developing and growing as artists. Okay. Let's get a little bit of colour into here, even though we know that it's going to be mostly taken up with the leaves of those trees. Okay, working around those ones there.